today. It is a little bit windy out. I don't think it'll be picked up on the microphone. I got my coffee with me, and let's just get rolling into it. I made a post the other day, kind of story time, I guess, about the post. And I talked about how when I was younger, I thought older people were smarter than me. I just assumed that because you're older, you know more, right? When you're a kid, and 12, 14, you have some respective intelligence. You always got to ask your parents or something, and they're smarter than you. And then you go to school and college, whatever you go, you get in the real world and you realize they're not any smarter than you at that time. Just people are still kind of dumb. And what I mean by that is that we just assume that somehow because you've been around a while, you have some level of intelligence. Now, experience and intelligence are two different things. Someone might have worked in the postal business forever and ever and ever, but then when one day someone younger makes an email because they see it's maybe the smarter action to do. There's actually a quote about this, and I can't remember who said it, but it was something along the lines, I think a postmaster said it. I want to say it was in UK. Basically giving a hard time to what I believe was email or the telephone, some form of communication. And it's kind of funny because that person's experience in being a postmaster and delivering mail, whatever a postmaster does in regards to mail, had actually blinded them to what would be a smarter option or a smarter alternative. And so I remember going into these meetings when I was fresh out of grad school, and I got thrown in some business meetings. And in my head, I was really nervous at the time, right? People come in, they're in suits and ties, and we're going to negotiate stuff. And I remember thinking, wow, I'm going to be totally outclassed. I'm out of comfort, out of my league. I'm not going to know what to do. And at the end of the meeting, two things I took away. One was people might know more things than me in certain areas, but they're not necessarily smarter than what you might be. In other words, it's not like a level of knowledge that you yourself could not obtain. When I try and learn physics, conceptually I struggle to understand it. So while I even struggle to even understand it, at the base layer. So I can say that someone in that physics realm is probably smarter than me. Number two is that we're all people. And at the end of the day, you deal with another person. So no matter how much you know or how much you don't know, it is a song and dance between you and the other person. Because imagine if you're a salesperson and you know tons of information about the product, about customers and whatnot, but the person you're selling to has no understanding of that at all. Well, then your equipment of knowledge and your wide breadth of understanding isn't really that useful because that person can't even appreciate the information you're giving them. And so there's a rate limiting factor in human interaction. And depending on who you're talking to, like a physicist talking to myself, that rate limiter is very low. And some of these other business meetings I've been in, it's very different. Some people might know a lot about the product, but it doesn't really matter how much about the product you know. If you're in the business meeting, it's about negotiations. It's about, meeting in a certain position where both parties feel like they've had some win in this mutual exchange of ideas. So I don't want to get too off course about business stuff, but I'll keep on why I kind of laugh at us as people because we're also very spectrum intelligence. There's certain spectrums, realm intelligence, maybe a better word, that we are smart in. I know a lot about human physiology in the body, but if you make me go build a house in engineering, I would be horrible at it. It's the idea that there's like a general intellect is a bizarre idea as well. And within that realm, there's going to be people who are smart, not as smart, and not very smart at all. Even if you go into that realm, not everyone is at the peak level of intelligence in that world. So it's like there's a bubble. Maybe a triangle's better. A triangle that each of these realms is represented by. And at the top you have the smartest, 1%. But as you go down the triangle, there's still people who succeed in this realm with very lower level of knowledge. Because again, knowledge and intelligence in the area doesn't mean that you yourself are extremely smart. You can still operate. So, I just think we're not as smart as we think we are. And I think we hide our lack of understanding of things by not wanting to investigate it or question it. And I'm in the strength and conditioning world, and you see this all the time. People speak adamantly about certain things. But then you ask them, when's the last time you learned something? Try to investigate something. And it seems like most people stopped learning past the age of, 30. Just because you meet a 60-year-old doesn't mean, I'd imagine, right, if I'm younger, even now, 30, in 30 more years, twice my lifespan. How much more will I know? I should know so much more. But in reality, other things come up in life that become more important, and you get good enough at your job that you can succeed at it. And because there's no further benefit to understanding more, you kind of just sit at that level of knowledge because there's no reason to go any further. It's kind of like the Peter principle of information or knowledge or understanding. This is knowledge in a specific term, not like a general term that, you're just like a dumb person. But like in the specific term, you kind of develop enough knowledge as necessary. And developing to that highest peak of knowledge in any field seems not hugely useful because there's not tons of roles for it. You kind of lose a rate of return on it. And so if we're talking about knowledge in terms of pure capitalism and trying to get more money out of your knowledge and information, there actually isn't even a benefit to being that smart in an area. You kind of just want to find the happy medium of being smart enough to where you can make money and operate, but not trying to be so smart that you're spending so much time that could be spent elsewhere on that pursuit. However, if you find that area to be something you really, really enjoy, you see it as a problem solving, then you will pursue it beyond the capitalistic yield of money because you're not doing it for the external incentives of finance. You're doing it for your own pursuit of knowledge. And when you pursue something for your own knowledge, then you will probably get more out of it. It's kind of like if someone asked me, Max, are you doing the best for your business right now that you possibly could on all your social medias? And the very easy answer is no, I don't. I sacrifice a lot of the time that I could spend growing certain business avenues on my social media for the pursuit of information and knowledge. I like to try and learn things. I like to try and spend my time doing other stuff. Versus someone else might be specifically geared to optimize towards revenue, and then they wouldn't maybe pursue other areas. And this doesn't need to be just strictly for business in terms of your business and your pursuit of knowledge in that area, but it could be an amalgamation of it, because in life we have lots of other things that can involve, perception, the house you have, your social influences, where you live, the food you eat, the clothes you wear. Then you have your job, and then other topical interests, maybe like football or basketball. And then maybe like seasonal interests like, the holidays, and those all occupy certain aspects of time. And by the end of it all, maybe your time is best dispersed amongst those than pursuing some bit of information and knowledge. And that's why I always think artists are so cool and interesting, because they pursue something just for a craft, an art, a trade, because they want to be the best at it. and their pursuit of betterness, for lack of better words, is not limited by how much money or revenue they made, but they were just pursuing what they're trying to pursue because it's a passion. And then from there, they kind of maybe make or do not make money as a symptom of their passion. I'm not really sure where I'm going with this whole topic, other than the fact that I think we're a lot stupider than we think we are at times, and our level of intelligence in certain areas is very specific, and our level of intelligence in certain areas is, well, I guess our level of intelligence is specific to an area, and it's not generalized to all areas. And too often we think because this person made a lot of money in business, Elon Musk or Bill Gates, or pick Jeff Bezos, pick a billionaire, and because they do this really well, they can do other things really well. It's like, well, they were smart in a certain area, but does that qualification mean that does that qualify them to be smart in another area? Albert Einstein wasn't a businessman, and he's, a genius, and same with rattle off Bohr or, Planck or whomever else you want to pick, any famous physicists. It's not like they were businessmen, so the fact that we have businessmen and they make a lot of money and we think that they're really smart because they made a lot of money doesn't always make a ton of sense to me. But whatever. I don't think we think about our intelligence being in certain areas, and I'm sure there is a generalized intelligence in terms of pattern recognition, being able to objectively problem solve. I think problem solving is kind of the most general form of intelligence. Possibly, I don't know. And then you can take that and make it specific to another area. I like strength conditioning and lifting weights, so congratulations, I wasted my talents on trying to run faster. Should have been trying to make spaceships. Would have been cooler, more exciting, but I would have sucked at it, I guess. I'm not very smart in that area. There's something to think about, and someone who's younger, maybe going into the field of whatever field you're in. Yes, there are going to be people who are very smart, but sometimes people just got to a certain point because of luck, circumstance, and good timing, and they're not in a position because they're the most intelligent person. And so a lot of times when we try to interact with those people or try to become some of those people, we often get confused with how they got there. You might not feel capable of it. Like a lot of times people want to go into another field of work and, I'm not smart enough, I don't know that area. I'm like, well, I don't think those people are really probably that extremely well versed. Anything more so than you. Like the pyramid example, probably the majority of it sits below. It's a skewed to the left pyramid, right? Have you ever seen like a skewed normal distribution where there's not many people who sit in the super intelligent realm or super knowledgeable realm? I don't know, maybe call intelligence super knowledgeable in that area. And a lot of people who kind of just sit in this operating not as, it's like almost like a whale or a dolphin. You ever seen that, is it pink dolphin, that logo, that brand? It's a pink dolphin or a whale. I'm not sure what it is. People wear it. And how it has the big whale is like the head of the whale is here and the tail gets thinner. You can think about that as like the distribution curve. The majority of the mass is made up on the left side of the whale. If we're laying the whale's head on the left and the tail on the right, the majority of the mass is on the left and there's a little bit of mass in the tail on the right. That's probably how a lot of these jobs work, is a lot of people sit on that left and they're good enough to operate in it, but then they maybe don't do much more, and there are probably some super intelligent people on the far right. But when you're someone going into a career, you're probably only going to encounter those people on the far right because those are people who we put on pedestals to learn from, and their accolades have been shared. You think about physicists, you're only going to think about the smartest physicist to ever exist. You're not going to think about the guys who are just good enough to operate. And so people, when they get into a field, they often think that they're limited by the most intelligent people, but really the majority of people probably sit on that other end. And so when you enter that world, all you gotta do is get to that, the head of the whale, and you can be operating intelligence to function in whatever career that is, versus thinking I have to be the smartest person possible. I'm sure there's probably some math problem to that, but we walk through here together. And so I guess the takeaways are we're probably not as smart as we think. The limitations of intelligence probably aren't as high as we think. Our intelligence is probably localized to specific areas, and there's not, generally extrapolatable to other areas. There's probably some form of general intelligence in terms of problem solving, which helps you, I guess, acquire more knowledge in an area. And then at the end of the day, I guess, you know, just because you're older doesn't mean you're smarter than someone. A lot of old people are kind of not very smart. That's my talk for the day. Appreciate you guys listening. Hope you guys enjoyed the corn. Take care.